Who are you and why should people care?
Well, my name is Dave Wang, and I don't know that people should care or not care, but I work in an industry here that I think the barrier of entry is really low. So that means really anyone can do this as long as you have the ability to get an insurance license. And you should care because, you know, I wasn't one of these guys that when I grew up and I knew exactly what I wanted to be, or in high school I knew the next career path where I was going to be an engineer, I was going to be a doctor. Wasn't that guy. And it was really by luck that I stumbled onto this business, and this is one of those things that just kind of worked out. So 23 years later, I'm here. I love to tell you I'm talented, but I think, you know, I think it's by the grace of God, and also that I just kept showing up and I kept doing the work. So that's why you should care, because, you know, to do what I do, you don't need a PhD, you don't need to have a prestigious degree, you don't have to have $1 million to start up. You can literally start from nothing and create it into something. So that's why you should care.
That's amazing.
You know?
That's amazing. Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about how you got started and why you chose insurance. Where do you come from? What are your roots? I want to know a little bit more about you.
Yeah, so my mom, so I was born in Taiwan. My mom's side of family were Polynesians, and she was in Taiwan doing business, met my dad, got married, and then so I was born in Taiwan, but so I'm, you know, we cling on more to my Hawaiian heritage than I do my Asian heritage, and came here to the United States when I was 10 years old. You know, didn't speak a word of English, didn't know the language, awesome. Never even seen a white dude, man. You know what I'm saying? Goodness. So came here with nothing. We came here with luggage, and you know, I don't want to go through the entire, because we don't have the time on this particular pod, but fast forward, you know, went to school down in Southern Illinois. We moved 4 or 5 times before high school. And so I'm that guy that, you know, that didn't know anybody in the lunchroom. I'm that guy that, you know, didn't know anybody in school. So because of that, I found this game, you know, and it was in 8th grade, I was introduced to football, and I fell in love with it. And so played all through high school, and, you know, and football became my, you know, that became my identity, that became my, I don't know, that became like my connection to make friends and all that stuff, and just fell in love with the game and had an opportunity here to be recruited and played at a small Division III school. Nothing great, nothing great, you know, wasn't one of these things, you know. So I had to drop out because my dad was sick at the time. My dad passed away when I was 19 years old, and so I had to, my family had a little diner, and so I had to basically stay behind and work, and I didn't go out looking for insurance, that's for sure. So I had a buddy that was in, you know, that worked at this company, and you know, it was after dinner one night at my mom's house. He was single, I was single at the time, and he was dropping me off, and actually, I take that back, I was not single, I was newly married, and I had, this was in 2001. I was newly married. I didn't have any direction in life, to be honest with you. I really didn't know how I was going to provide for my wife and my kid. So anyway, we were sitting on the driveway. My buddy had his, this is before the laptop, all that stuff, where we were doing all the work on the laptop. This is before we had to fill out paper application. So he had this 3-ring binder. I picked up the binder and started flipping through it. And I'm like, hey, yo, what is this? And he says, oh, that's my work stuff. And so anyways, he goes, here, let me show you something. So he said, and I was 28 years old, so he goes, go to 28, and I said, 28? He goes, yeah, just, you'll see the numbers at the top. So I went to 28, and he goes, you see the M and the F? I go, yeah, 28 male. And then, so anyway, he showed me the package. I'm thinking, oh, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm like, this is what you do? He goes, yeah. So I'm like, really? I thought you sold insurance. He goes, well, what the heck did you think that was? I said, I don't know, man. So anyway, I proceeded to ask him if there was an opportunity for me, and how big's the company, and, you know, bless his heart, he said that, wow, there's only about 25 guys at the time, and I'm like, 25? I'm like, okay, so it's a small company. I go, what are the chances of us buying it? And I had no business talking about buying this business, because, man, I didn't have a pot to pee in and a window to throw out of, so I didn't have any money. But I don't know, I always thought that way, you know what I'm saying?
You saw it right from the beginning.
Yeah, but I had no business asking. So I asked him. He goes, yeah, come on in. He goes, let's talk. So anyway, so that was in 2001. 23 years later, I've accomplished some pretty cool things in this business. Broken records, helped retire a lot of people, created a few millionaires, And so that's my story in a nutshell, man.
That's
We're
awesome.
here today. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And
Yeah.
so obviously you've had quite the story going through your timeline and understanding a little bit more about who you are, where you come from. I mean, you've accomplished so many amazing things. That's why I wanted to have you on the podcast, and I saw what you were doing, and you know, I knew that there was something about you that really spoke to me. I mean, it's not that you necessarily have a crazy social media presence or anything, but you know, I'm friends with a lot of guys that don't have large social media presences, but they have big businesses and they run multi-billion-dollar mortgage loaning companies. So it's like, well, these are the guys that you want to know, right? And I think that with what's on social media today is so interesting because they portray a whole different side of entrepreneurship, of owning a business, of making money online. It's a whole different kind of glorified side. So with all that said, what do you think is one of your biggest strengths that's allowed you to come through the roots where you came from and you were struggling and didn't have a pot to piss in, but now you are doing exceptionally well and influencing so many young men and women to go and achieve their dreams and chase their dreams?
Well, I appreciate the words. Truth of the matter is, I don't know if you ever feel like you arrived. I think, you know, the biggest thing I think I bring to the table is I just never quit. You know, everybody wants to be an entrepreneur, and everyone thinks that the day that you declare you're an entrepreneur, it's like instant success,
You're
right?
a
It's like,
multimillionaire, right?
exactly, the Lambos, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? The
exactly,
jets.
exactly.
And it doesn't really quite work out that way. Truth of the matter is, you're gonna go through good years, and you're going through years where, man, everything that comes in, you're putting right back into your businesses. And those are the years that you get paid last. When everybody else in your deal gets paid, you get paid last, and you celebrate their success. I don't know if that's a skill set. I don't know if that's a, you know, it's a God-given thing. But you definitely got to be resilient, because you just got to know that if this is what you're signing up for, the Lambos and the big houses and the travel and the you know, the great meals and all that stuff, they don't just come overnight. It comes after a lot of tears and a lot of, you know what I'm saying, a lot of sweat equity and a lot of days away, a lot of miles on your car. I mean, that's it, you know. So I love to tell you that I'm one of these social media influencers, and I get paid $1 billion for posting, but I'm a latecomer, man, when it comes to social media. I'm inherently a private dude, you know. I don't like flexing online, because it's just really not me. And but I'll tell you, you know, my business partner Tristan has really changed my mind on that. And the reason why that is because, you know, with social media, there's no question here that this genre is going to continue to evolve, and people use this platform, social media platform, for all kinds of different stuff. And you know, before I looked at it more as an entertainment, more as a time escape, you know, but I'm definitely a lot more open to the power of social media.
Absolutely.
So I haven't intentionally built up my social media presence because of that privacy, but now I'm seeing how it could really enhance whatever business you're in. It really can, you know.
Completely. So I was actually reading something about that earlier today, and it's in a book called Contagious by Jonah Berger. He's talking about how prevalent social media is in society, and the entire book is all about how to make things go viral, virality aspect behind certain things, and how you can actually spread something to a larger audience. And they're talking about social media is extremely, extremely valuable in today's society. But they don't understand that when you're posting something on social media, that the most important aspect of it is that it has a talking point, right? And when people see what you're posting, like what Tristan's done, when people see what he's posting, they want to go and tell their friends about it. So then that engages the audience even more, rallies more people behind what he's doing. And it's not just, oh, he has a large following on social media. Oh, he actually has built a community of people that love, respect, and know, excuse me, him for what he does. And the man that he is, he leads his teams, right?
Yep.
And I know that you know this, is that I've developed this through playing football, is that my resilience scale is through the roof. I feel like I could run through 100 walls and nothing's gonna stop me.
Yep.
You know, and I think for me that came from playing football. So a little bit of background, I played all throughout high school. I played a year in college, went to a D2 school in Iowa, and then I was supposed to go transfer play at San Diego State. things fell through 2 days before my flight, before spring summer camp. And I'm like, you know, I have to make a decision. At the time, I had already started my home improvement business. At the time, it was only I was just mowing grass, right? And one thing leads to another, and I was like, well, I don't know what to do. I'm here stuck in Chicago, and I either go to a community college and go work my way through the ranks, and working through community college playing football is not fun, right? That's the struggle, that's the gutter, that's the grit, right? So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna choose to take some time, and I really focused on my business at the time, and we grew. Now we do multi 6 figures every year, and
Nice.
I'm just about to be 22 in October. So it's a accomplishment for myself, but we came here to talk about you. So now that you're at a point where you have achieved success, quote unquote, what does it feel like? Does it feel any different than every day when you were growing up and you were hoping that one day this would just work, and you were pushing through the pain, your blood, sweat, and tears every single day going through this? How does it feel now that you've achieved some sort of success, knowing that obviously there is still more to come, but what does it feel like? Where do you sit with that?
And that's such a great question, because I love to tell you that, you know, you're this, you're happy, you're all that stuff, but I think the word that comes to mind, honestly, is just gratitude. Because, you know, for a guy like me, man, things could have gone a lot of different ways, and none of it necessarily good, you know. So I was an angry kid. I was, you know, was not a guy that was focused. I just knew that I wanted success in life. I just didn't know how to get there, you know. And I probably would have done it by whatever means necessary, which could be a number of different things. So I think what it feels like nowadays is I'm just grateful, man. I'm grateful for you know what I'm saying, that to be in the opportunities that I am in, you know, and to be able to scale this business to the level of success that I was able to do. Again, I don't want to take the credit for that, because I think, you know, God had a lot to do with it. He has everything to do with it. I just had to do my part, and my part was just showing up. So I think there's a feeling of gratitude, and then the second most prevalent feeling has got to be where, you know, when you do something, it's almost like you take on a project, right? You know, you started your landscaping business, and you were able to turn that into something here where you're generating multiple 6-figure revenues now. There's a feeling of, not pride, but you're proud of yourself.
Fulfillment.
Yeah, you're proud of yourself. You're like, hey man, I could have been just some punk kid that, you know what I'm saying?
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, for me, coming up playing football, I definitely experienced that. I mean, everyone's so into what's cool, right? And you kind of move away from that. I've always been a very secluded kid. I was 14 years old working out 3 times a day because I grew up, I was overweight, and then I lost a bunch of weight, and I was trying to get my head around how I could gain all this weight back in the form of muscle. I'm spending 6 hours a day in the gym, working out at 5 a.m. before school, after school, and then at night I would go back to the gym. And it's because I couldn't find what was right for me. And
I totally relate, man. Yeah.
And I'm sitting there thinking, how can I do something that's astronomical? I come from a family, I'm a first generation American. My dad was born in Ukraine, came here when he was 12 years old. My mom was born here, lived on the same block her entire life. I mean, I lived on the same exact block until college.
Wow.
So I have seen it all. My grandfather recently passed away, but you know, it's you start to see life kind of shift amongst your eyes.
Yeah.
And I think that, so growing up, kind of living on the same block my entire life, seeing my life transcend throughout my journey and trying to do something amazing, because, well, I grew up watching people like Travis Etienne and all these motivational speakers. I mean, you're like, well, why can't I do this too? And the biggest thing that pushed me to my edge and made me want to be an entrepreneur was because I've seen what my dad does. My dad's a carpenter, interior designer, interior construction worker. He started his first business. He's 65 years old now, and he still works.
Nice.
He's still working.
Nice.
So
That's that old, that old world tradition, man.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, the immigrant work ethic.
That's because that's the only option he had.
Yeah.
He didn't. He went to high school, went to a little bit of college. That's what they do. They come here, they learn how to become an electrician, a plumber, a contractor, and then eventually they get to a point where they have enough money saved up so they can start their own business and they start subcontracting their own jobs. And then they all, I mean, it funnels through every time, and it's amazing that now I'm at a point where I can employ some Ukrainian guys, and I mean, I speak fluent Ukrainian, so
Oh, wow.
I could communicate with them and I could get them going and get them to work, because they're coming here looking for jobs and asking for opportunities, but nobody's giving opportunities.
Yeah.
So listen, I'm Ukrainian, I'll help you out. Come to me, talk to me. Hey, listen, I'll give you an opportunity. We have a bunch of guys working all the time, so
That's good, man.
That's the goal. Is my personal pride is by helping other people and getting other people to where they want to be in their life, and that's what puts the smile on my face. So with that being all be said, what now that you can mostly afford whatever you want, the houses you want, the cars you want, what puts a smile on your face nowadays?
I gotta tell you that, and this is I shouldn't say this is a late revelation, but I think for me, I think my greatest accomplishments are my boys, man. I have a 23-year-old, I have a 21-year-old, and my 23-year-old is in Scottsdale, software developer for Amazon, and makes a pretty heavy 6-figure income right out of school. Graduated from Michigan. I got my son, my 21-year-old that lives in Maui. He's there for the next 4 months working with the fire victims from Lahaina.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is he's going to be out of pocket several $1,000s to do this, even though he's getting paid, but obviously not enough to live on the island of Maui. But when he comes back, he's got a 6-figure position lined up. He interned there when he was a senior in college. Actually, he graduated in 3 years at Miami University, and then and secured a position full-time with Lincoln International. It's a private equity investment banking firm. So awesome. He's coming back. So he's doing 4 months. I call it missionary work, because he's gonna be about $8,000 out of pocket to do this. Yeah. And so he's given up some things to do this. And so I look at what puts a smile on my face. That puts a smile on my face, because I'm sure your dad feels the same way. Listen, for a 22-year-old to sit across from me and tell me that it gives you great pleasure to be able to help people that are new immigrants, help them get set up, help them get started, give them a meaningful job, gainful employment. 22-year-olds don't talk that way. So I'm sure your parents, your dad must be very proud. And that same feeling of pride about his kids and his son is how I feel about my boys. I just think that they're one of the greatest human beings. That they're two of my favorite people in this world.
That's awesome.
Man.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So to wrap everything up, we kind of discussed where you come from, your roots, your traditions, how you became an entrepreneur and started your own business, and the struggles that you had to endure. To bring everything together, where do you see yourself in the next 10 years?
Well, I see myself, honestly, I don't want to say work hard, because working hard is relative, but I see myself definitely very active in the companies I'm a part of. I see myself continue to set the bar and set the pace for my kids, because wherever I end things in my life, at the end of my peak earning years, that becomes like the baseline for my kids. So if I set that baseline up here, then at the minimum they'll fall to that. And so I see in 10 years I'm healthy, I'm happy, I'm at peace, and we've helped a lot of people. We've done a lot of good things with money. I always say that if you give money to good people, good things happen. If you give money to bad people, bad things happen. Yep. And I feel like in the next 10 years, we're going to bless a lot of people. We're going to do a lot of good things, and we're going to help a lot of people out, man. We're going to help a lot of people make a lot of money. So
that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Yes, sir, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christian.
Yes, sir.